I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America for obstruction of justice. I do not do this for political purposes, Mr. Speaker. I do this because I believe in the great ideals that this country stands for.
That is Congressman Al Green back on May 17th calling for the impeachment of President Trump. He will do the same thing again in about 3 hours' time. He's holding a news conference about impeachment. It's the latest from the object and obstruct Democrats. There's a lot more. From the mainstream media, for example, MSNBC host Thomas Roberts, you've heard this, he suggested that President Trump is trying to provoke a terrorist attack in America for his political advantage. The tweet from CNN's Reza Aslan, look at it. This piece of you-know-what is not just an embarrassment to America and a stain on the presidency, it's an embarrassment to humankind. That's from a CNN guy. Joining us now, the host of The Story on Fox News, that would be Martha MacCallum. Martha, welcome back.
Good morning, Stuart.
Restrain yourself, okay? Because I thought that this nonsense had reached a peak, but it's not. It's still going on.
You know, they are like a dog that's got a piece of red meat. If this red meat doesn't turn out to be anything, which is absolutely possible, it's, you know, somewhere around the 50-50 mark at best right now. And what we're hearing this morning in these hearings is backing up the notion that these individuals are saying, and Rod Rosenstein is also chiming in now as well, that they never felt that they were persuaded to do anything unethical with regard to dropping the investigation against Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor to the president. So this is what they are holding on to big time. If this thing starts to fall apart, I think you're going to see more lashing out. And you're seeing it right there from Representative Green, who's saying, I don't care what the facts are. I want to impeach this guy based on essentially nothing at this point.
We've got Michael Moore. He's launching something called a Trump Leaks website. I mean, is that... Okay. But, you know, I guess this is to be expected.
I mean, it is to be expected, and I think that this movement is not going anywhere anytime fast.
They're going to be with us for
It's going to be like this for 4 years.
You know, it borders on rudeness on occasion. I mean, look at this. Senator Kamala Harris of California, she's a Democrat, and she's really going after Homeland Security Chief Mike Kelly. Just listen to this.
Can I finish with what I was saying?
Inside of those embassies as opposed to attending a cocktail party.
Well, Senator,
how are they supposed to choose?
had you not cut me off, I would have said the same thing you just said. Probably not as eloquently, but I'd have said the same thing you said.
Secretary Kelly, what do you mean below the radar? They have two choices, and they are accountable. Excuse me, sir.
We're willing to work with them.
So are you aware that there are local law enforcement...
At least finish once before you interrupt me?
Sir, with all due respect.
With all due respect, Senator. Local lawyers.
So when they're instructed...
Once,
excuse
Senator,
me, I'm asking the questions.
But I'm trying to answer the question. Okay, before I start to answer, will you let me finish?
Well, it came to that, Martha. That was pretty nasty, wasn't it?
That's unbelievable.
I
mean, Admiral Kelly is one of the most widely respected people in this administration. He fought valiantly. He led forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. He lost a son. He deserves more respect than Kamala Harris is giving him in this situation. You know, these senators and members of Congress need to understand that they are there in order to elicit information for the American people, not to grandstand on their own behalf. Now, we have seen Republicans be very guilty of this as well in the past. So this is an equal opportunity offense that happens here. But, you know, it's not about you. Okay? It is not about you, Senator Kamala Harris. It is about understanding the security situation that exists in our country right now. That's what General Kelly was there to do yesterday. And by the way, he had some very serious tones yesterday about how he feels that not having the extreme vetting that the president wanted to put in place is putting us in jeopardy in this country. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from yesterday.
Left-hand side of your screen, you see Marine One, and before that, Air Force One. President Trump is about to leave for Ohio, where he's going to visit victims of Obamacare, which brings to mind yesterday's news that Anthem is withdrawing from all 88 counties in Ohio, leaving some counties with no insurer whatsoever. Now, today, we hear that the Republicans do indeed have a replacement plan. They're going to put it in front of people very, very soon. But, you know, if they don't get it through, they own a collapsing and failed Obamacare. The pressure's on them.
You know, Senator Lindsey Graham and I think the president, to some extent, both kind of like the idea of letting this thing collapse and then forcing Democrats to the table because there's no other option, because people lose coverage across the country. The president has said, you know, I don't want to do that. I want to make it easier for people to sort of move from one idea to the other. But that's the battle that we're going to see in the Senate over the next few weeks over this health care reform. People who want to say, we did it, which is what they did on the House side, and people like Rand Paul, who is definitely not on board, and people like Lindsey Graham, who believe that they can come up with something better. But they have to stick to this agenda. I mean, they're going to have to maybe go with something that isn't perfect, but, you know, is not the enemy of the good. So we'll see. Just
don't launch me on another rant about how they got to get this done. Don't do that, Martha.
I couldn't agree more. I think the American people on both sides of the aisle should feel that, you know, they elected these individuals to get some of this stuff done, tax reform, health care, and people, you know, it's always like, you know, well, after the break or before the break or after the end, and oh, now there's no time. And I mean, it's unbelievable.
Do it. Martha MacCallum, we'll see you at 7 o'clock Eastern on the Fox News Channel. Thank you very much indeed.